Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First of all, I'm sorry that I was unable to attend this meeting today. So, here is a brief video presentation which I hope will help you understand the structure of this course and will also help you make an informed decision about enrollment in this course. Alright, so on this slide, I'll just signpost the parts of this course for you, and then we'll go into the details of each one of these components. So take a look at the fourth one at the bottom first. Look, the course is about happiness and education, right? And but before you consider happiness and education and their relationship, you have to be prepared to do that, right? And so we will do that preparation from various perspectives, right? So we'll look at the history of happiness, which is going to be about what people have been saying about happiness for as long as we have the recorded history. And then we will look at happiness from psychological perspectives. And then finally, from the neoliberal consumerist perspective and the impact of these on education. And then we move into the relationship between happiness and education. All right, so let's look at a little more detail on the first part of this course, which is historical perspectives on happiness. Okay, so in the second week of your course, you will be looking at the history of happiness from ancient perspectives, and these are Greece, Chinese, and Indians. Okay, and here is just a snapshot of some of the readings that you'll be looking at. Just take a look at these. Now, you will not have to read the complete chapters. Usually, what I do is that I prepare a set of notes which are excerpts from these chapters, but essentially give you a gist of what the philosophers in each one of these times are saying about happiness, and then we will discuss that in the class. So, third week of your course will be focused on Islamic scholars and what they have said about happiness and well-being. We'll be looking at Al-Ghazali, Ibn Sina, Al-Kandi, Al-Farabi, Ibn Qayyum al-Jawziyah, of course, Dr. Muhammad Iqbal. Now, obviously, we can't read them all. We can't even read one of those in a week or two. So what we're going to do is take out some of the very important snippets of their work, excerpts that I think are important for us to discuss in the class, and then develop a perspective on not just what these philosophers are saying, but also how what they are saying is similar to or different from what has been said earlier. Okay, week 4 is enlightenment. And in enlightenment, we're going to look at Locke, Kant, and Rousseau essentially. Okay, for those of you who are familiar with the course that I offered in the last fall, which was what it means to be educated, we did look at all of these philosophers in that course as well. But it was with reference to what they said about purposes of education. Right here, we're looking at what they have been saying about well-being and happiness, and the linkage of that with what they have been saying about education. Right, and so that will provide us with a perspective on some of these very influential Enlightenment philosophers and what they've said about happiness, and then how it is similar or different from what has been said earlier by the Islamic philosophers and by the Greeks, Chinese, and Indians. Okay. I've lumped week 5 and 6 together. There's going to be 4 sessions in these 2 weeks, and they'll be focused on psychological and social perspectives. And in these 4 sessions, we'll be looking at in a lot of detail on the positive psychology and what it tells us about well-being and happiness and mental health, so on and so forth, as well as some of the ways that psychology helps measure, first of all, define and then measure happiness. Okay, so before I talk about the third part of the course, which is critique of neoliberal perspectives of happiness, let's just talk a little bit about neoliberal perspectives, because I'm pretty sure many of you might not know about the term. So very briefly, neoliberalism is a political and an economic ideology that emphasizes limited government intervention in markets and it promotes individual economic freedom and the promotion of free markets, which it regards as a means to achieve overall well-being and happiness. Okay, so just keep that in mind, and we'll talk more about that in the course as well. Okay, so week 7 and 8 we assign to the neoliberal perspectives on happiness. 4 sessions. You're going to learn about what neoliberalism is, what it says about happiness, how it commodifies happiness, the expression of this commodification in the education policies and practices, and so on and so forth. We will also have, to help us with these sessions, a guest speaker coming in from University of Georgia, who has done a lot of work on neoliberalism in education. So a lot of exciting sessions that we're looking forward to in these 2 weeks. Okay, so part 4 of the course is where we bring everything together in this relationship between education and what we have learned about happiness by looking at history from psychological perspective and looking at the critique of neoliberalism and so on and so forth. We'll bring everything together to bear on education in this part of the course. Okay, so there are 6 weeks in the last part of this course, the first 3 of which are focused on pulling everything that we have learned in the course earlier together to then reflect on the relationship between education and happiness, right? While we do that, we will also be looking at the role of schools in promoting happiness, its current state, and what potentially it can do. And we will also look at some examples of curricula from around the world that are happiness-centric, and then think about how we can design a happiness-centric curriculum, and then spend 3 weeks designing one, which will bring you to the culmination of this course, the culminating project, which is going to be chunks of happiness-centric curriculum that you will produce. Okay. Now, so that brings me to an end of this presentation. Let's just look at the grading for this course, and then we can take your questions. I will not be there to take your questions, but I will request Arsalan Saab or somebody else to just pass my email to you guys. And so if you have any questions, you're most welcome to send them to me. All right, so here is just the rundown of the course requirements and grading. So 4 response papers, 20% of the grade, classroom participation 20%, presentations 20%, and then eventually the final project 40% of the grade. If you have any questions, please do send them to me.